The prince married me for my uncontentious nature. He made me promise that once my sister changed her mind and returned, I would relinquish my position as princess. But what he didn't understand was that not contending was the greatest contention of all. After marriage, I devoted myself entirely to him, both in court affairs and household matters. I even risked my life for him on several occasions. On the day my sister returned, I kept my promise, removing my princess attire and surrendering the royal seal. Yet, he began to hesitate. My mother was a pawn carefully chosen by the Lady Dowager to rival my father's favored concubine. She was peerless in beauty and talent, yet came from an official family, enough to captivate my father. At the height of my father's infatuation with my mother, the Lady Dowager gave her a poison-laced drug that preserved her beauty. She wanted my mother to emulate Lady Li, leaving behind only her most beautiful and gentle image for my father before death. My mother only had to die. The Lady Dowager had already set the stage for the concubine's downfall. Indeed, the moment mother died, my father was enraged and pursued the truth relentlessly. The concubine who had basked in favor at the prime minister's estate for nearly a decade was beaten half to death and sold off. Even her children fell from grace. My father banished them to the outer courtyard. The Lady Dowager killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Utterly delighted, she kept her promise to my mother. With just a few theatrical tears, she easily secured my custody. I was registered under her name, becoming the prime minister's legitimate second daughter. She gained both a sterling reputation and my father's heart. 4 birds with 1 stone. She knelt before the Bodhisattva, weeping and laughing in gratitude like a madwoman. When my mother died, she was happy, liberated. She clutched my hand, pressing it against her icy cheek. Blood seeped from the corner of her mouth. Yet her eyes gazed at me with tender joy, like a child who'd done something wonderful, eager for praise, adorable and pitiful. My Annie, when you grow up, you won't have to be discarded like weeds paving your father and brother's paths to success. My Annie, you can study, marry a beloved man of your heart, and live a lifetime of happiness. At this moment, her eyes were filled with anticipation for my smooth future path. But mother, where in a woman's life is there ever a smooth path? As a wife, a concubine, a slave, or a maid, aren't we all just surviving as appendages to men? The first time I met Prince Liam Li was when he became engaged to my sister, Luna Jiang. At that moment, I knew, even if it meant resorting to any means, exhausting every scheme, I would marry him, because he was the stepping stone I had chosen for myself. I would climb over him, step by step, until I reached the highest position. From then on, Chloe Jiang, would have the final say in everything. No one would ever be able to use me, enslave me, humiliate me, or trample on me again. Fortunately, the heavens took pity on me for once. Luna Jiang had been spoiled rotten by the Lady Dowager. She was quite unconventional. She loved miscellaneous books, especially those with a chivalrous flair, and thus admired their protagonists, sailing on lakes, disguising as a man, eating meat heartily, and drinking wine from large bowls, even to the extent of pursuing true love. At first, my father was furious, confining her and making her copy books as punishment. 3 canes were broken, yet her resolve remained unshaken. She either climbed onto the roof or scaled the windows. My father fell ill several times from anger, sighing deeply. As for me, I always adhered to the model of a noble lady, proficient in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, with both temperament and appearance of the highest caliber. My father feared my sister would cause trouble if she married Liam Li in the future, so he discussed with Liam Li to either cancel the engagement or switch brides. When I heard this news, my heart pounded like thunder. I thought my chance had finally come. All those years of rising early and toiling late had not been in vain. At last, I could be proudly presented by my father and praised before all. Looking at the thick calluses on my hands, I inexplicably felt tears welling up, until Liam Li resolutely declared, "I find Mingwei to be exceptional, unlike any other woman in the capital. They are lifeless, rigid as if on death's door. lacking even a fraction of Luna Jiang's vivacity, charm, candor, and innocence. I adore Luna just as she is, and I can ensure she remains this way forever. Uncle need not worry. I will safeguard her hard-won authenticity. So, Luna Jiang pinning me to the ground to ride me like a horse is vivacity. Forcing me to fight dogs for food is charm. Secretly swapping my medicine and nearly killing me is candor. And holding my head underwater to time how long I'd survive is innocence. Heavens above, you are truly so unfair. After a long silence, my father persisted stubbornly. My second daughter, Chloe Jiang, is the epitome of a refined lady in the capital, skilled in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, praised by all the noble matrons. Even Her Majesty the Empress commended her grace, dignity, and poise, saying she would make an exemplary wife. Liam Lee rejected him mercilessly, dismissing everything about me. As for the second young miss, she is no different from the ornamental rocks in my courtyard. She may indeed be a model of refinement, but to me, she is merely a stone with no will or thoughts of her own, destined to be manipulated her entire life. Such women are as common as summer cicadas. I desire only the one and only moon. That night, I sat for hours before my mother's memorial tablet, watching the incense burn to ashes, watching the sky lighten at dawn, watching the courage I'd lost rekindle like dead embers crackling back to life before me. A cicada lives 8 days, born to die. Until the final moment, anything can change. I couldn't surrender, couldn't be the first to falter. My father, having secured Liam Lee's promise, no longer restrained Luna Jiang, letting her wreak havoc as she pleased. Even when she severed a maid's hands for spilling hot tea on her favorite skirt, I stood frozen beside them, horrified to my core. She flicked blood from her sword, ignoring the maid's agonized wails, and pointed at the damp stain on her hem, looking down at me. Lick it clean. I didn't refuse. Not for a second. I licked it spotless. She laughed so hard she nearly doubled over, saying I looked like a dog. I could only force a smile and endure it. Without ability or power, all lofty pride becomes a death warrant. I fell seriously ill, burning with a fever that wouldn't break. Meanwhile, on Chang'an Avenue, the young prince set up a martial arts competition. The winner was Zhang Zhao, who could shoot an arrow through a willow leaf at 100 paces and wielded a peerless sword. A commoner by birth, he effortlessly defeated a crowd of noble scions. He won the match with effortless grace, and bold onlookers among the maidens declared their love for him. Unmoved, he replied plainly, "My heart belongs to another. I cannot marry you." When asked who held his heart, he answered, "Luna Jiang of the Jiang family." With those words, the admiration and envy for Luna Jiang multiplied. The world often measures a woman's success by the number of men who adore her. Luna Jiang loved swordsmanship, but sparring partners never satisfied her. The instructors dared not truly fight her. Of course, her temper was unpredictable, and in her rage, she had been known to kill. She rode out to find the man who had dared to publicly declare his love for her in front of everyone. Ever since her engagement to Liam Lee was announced, all the men in the capital had kept their distance from her. She had never encountered someone so bold before. Her curiosity about him began to grow. Zhang Zhao was entirely different from Liam Lee. Liam Lee was the crown prince, the benevolent ruler upon whom great hopes were pinned. The words he spoke about me were no different from the words describing his own manipulated life. But Zhang Zhao was different. He was a carefree and unrestrained swordsman. Such an identity was romantic enough, enchanting enough to captivate a sheltered young woman who had only glimpsed the martial world through storybooks. With just a few words, Zhang Zhao painted a vivid picture of romance and adventure before Luna Jiang's eyes, leaving her heart yearning for it. On the day of the Lantern Festival, Luna Jiang was confined to her home and punished by her father for meeting Zhang Zhao in secret. Once again, the cane was broken, but her resolve remained unshaken. While the bustling streets roared with festive clamor, the Prime Minister's estate lay in dead silence. Zhang Zhao released 100 Kongming lanterns by the rear wall of the Prime Minister's estate, closest to Luna Jiang. The lanterns lit up the night like day as he scaled the wall, scooping up the teary-eyed Luna Jiang to admire the bustling human spectacle from the rooftops. Chang'an Avenue was packed shoulder to shoulder when Luna Jiang got separated near Great Ao Peak, cornered by ruffians who began harassing her. The classic hero saves damsel tale unfolded in reality. Zhang Zhao descended like a celestial savior. From that moment, her heart secretly pledged itself to wander the world with him. Luna Jiang basked in the first flutterings of a maiden's awakening heart. She forgot the little maidservant whose hands she'd severed as the girl begged for mercy, the one who'd once told her, "This humble maid has a betrothed training in swordsmanship at Mount Zhongnan. He's terribly skilled. When he masters his art, he'll come to the Prime Minister's estate to marry me. Then even a lowly maid like me can become a radiant bride for once." Yet, that maidservant ultimately perished on the night she lost her hands. When Luna Jiang stayed away for nights unending, her father and Lady Dowager understood all too well. Yet he couldn't believe his beloved daughter of many years would commit such a disgraceful act. Chaos reigned in the Prime Minister's estate, but my father suppressed all rumors. He only declared that Luna Jiang had left for travels, strictly forbidding any mention of elopement. Father had a violent quarrel with Lady Dowager, even coming to blows. Elopement makes her a concubine. This is your fine daughter's doing. Meanwhile, my severe illness happened to recover around this time. Truth will out. News of Luna Jiang's pre-wedding travels eventually reached the Empress's ears. Furious, the Empress ordered painters to portray marriageable daughters of capital officials, intending to select a new princess of proper decorum for the prince. After some time apart, Liam Li had grown visibly haggard. Learning there was still no trace of Luna Jiang, disappointment flickered in his eyes. Noticing my absence from the portraits, my father realized the Empress now despised the Jiang family. Panic began to grip him, staring at my face, bearing 70% resemblance to my mother. He suddenly exhaled in relief. "Beauty is the only legacy your mother left you. Use it wisely." I bowed my head meekly in agreement. Once again, my father brought me up in conversation with Liam Li. This time, Liam Li nodded wearily and agreed to meet me. Unlike before, my father ordered me to be dressed in lavish attire. I was presented before Liam Li like a gift. Left to his discretion, he looked at me, momentarily dazed, but devoid of emotion. After a long silence, he spoke coldly. "If you promise me that once your sister returns, you will willingly relinquish the title of princess, I will marry you. Do not worry, you shall remain my concubine." I shook my head and uttered a rebellious statement. This humble girl agrees, but might His Highness grant me leave from the Eastern Palace when the time comes? I have someone I love and places I wish to go. He sighed in relief, letting his guard down. In that case, very well. When the Empress saw that the prince had chosen me, she did not make things difficult. Instead, she smiled and gifted me the pearl earrings from her own ears. "It's you that actually puts my mind at ease." When Liam Li came to fetch me, he frowned upon seeing the earrings I wore. "These originally belonged to Luna. You're merely keeping them for now. Don't entertain any improper thoughts." I replied with neither humility nor arrogance. A gift from the Empress is not something this humble subject dares to refuse. To others, your highness is unattainable, but to me, you're just a business partner. You don't fancy me, and I don't fancy you either. His face flushed with anger. He let out a cold laugh and stormed off, sleeves flaring. Meanwhile, I walked in the opposite direction. My steps never faltered, and I never looked back. Within moments, Liam Li turned his horse around, scooped me onto his steed, and held me close as we rode together. He spoke through gritted teeth. "Chloe Jiang, you're absolutely unbelievable. Do you know even your sister Luna never dared speak to me like this?" He was so furious he forgot to refer to himself as this prince and instead said, "I." On the night of our grand marriage, Liam Li drank heavily. He lifted my veil, cradled my face, and called out Luna Jiang's name the entire night. To say I wasn't sad would be a lie. After all, this was my one and only wedding night in this lifetime. I gazed at Liam Lee's handsome features. I committed to memory the cold indifference of this face. I would never let it sway my heart. Auntie Grace, sent by the Empress to collect the wedding veil, and Eunuch Charles, dispatched by His Majesty with congratulatory gifts, were both driven out by Liam Lee in his drunken rampage. They waited outside the door until midnight. Even the most patient couldn't help but show displeasure on their faces. As the night deepened with heavy dew, I swallowed all my emotions and removed my hair ornaments myself. After helping the drunken Liam Lee onto the bed, I stepped out of the room. With a smile, I said to Annie Grace and Eunuch Charles, "Today is His Highness's joyous occasion." Overwhelmed with happiness, he drank a little too much. Not long ago, His Majesty went on a journey, leaving His Highness to oversee the state affairs. Now that His Majesty has returned, His Highness didn't rest for even half a day before throwing himself into the wedding preparations. His Highness has been running a fever since yesterday and finally collapsed from exhaustion. He meant no disrespect to you both. I discreetly slipped the prepared banknotes into Annie Grace and Eunuch Charles's hands. I've arranged a banquet in the front courtyard for you both. Auntie, please wait a moment. Knowing your love for opera, I've already sent for performers. Auntie, you may go ahead. I'd like a word with Eunuch Charles. Auntie Grace's face lit up with delight as she gave me an approving glance. She was the Empress's woman. No matter what happened to Liam Lee, she would stand by his side. But Eunuch Charles was different. Eunuch Charles had been sent by His Majesty, regardless of his standing in the palace. Tomorrow, he would have to report before the throne. Liam Lee was at a critical juncture, overseeing state affairs while preparing to transfer power. His Majesty was in the prime of his life, and no one could guess his true intentions. The other princes in court were all exceptional talents. Though Liam Lee's position as crown prince seemed secure, beneath the surface, treacherous currents swirled. The risk of being replaced loomed at any moment. If His Majesty is displeased with the good reputation Liam Lee gained during his regency, Eunuch Charles also harbored resentment over Liam Lee's actions tonight. When reporting to His Majesty tomorrow, a few misplaced words could be twisted by those with ulterior motives. Liam Lee would surely anger His Majesty and face demotion, accused of arrogance, tyranny, and disrespect toward Imperial Grace. With a smile, I placed a property deed and a personal contract into Eunuch Charles's hands. Yesterday, upon entering the palace, I overheard someone mention your plight, scrambling to gather funds to redeem your sister. Though I have no siblings of my own, I understand the pain of family separation. Now, I merely wish to offer modest assistance. I only hope that when His Majesty inquires about the prince tomorrow, you might speak a few kind words. Eunuch Charles gazed at his sister's contract, tears streaming down his face. Princess, this humble servant cannot refuse your generosity, but the property deed, I cannot accept it. I sighed helplessly. Your sister will need a place to stay once freed. Why refuse me? Eunuch Charles wiped away his tears. The princess is too kind. This humble servant is but a lowly eunuch in the palace, unworthy of such consideration from your highness. I smiled. It was a small effort. If I could help you siblings, it would be my good deed. After Eunuch Charles left, I had the congratulatory gifts from His Majesty carefully stored away. When Liam Lee woke, I was by the window with my hair down, reviewing account books. Luna Jiang had fled, so my father gave me all the dowry originally prepared for her. Before the wedding, Lady Dowager whispered bitterly in my ear, seething with resentment, "You've nurtured a viper in your bosom. When my daughter returns, you'll crawl back to where you came from." The lesson of nurturing a viper in one's bosom, she realized it far too late. She shouldn't have looked down on me. It was already the 5th watch of the night. In another quarter hour, Liam Lee and I would go to the palace to pay our respects to His Majesty and the Empress. Liam Lee's eyes were bloodshot from the previous night's drinking. He sat on the bed, his head aching as he watched me, waiting for me to help him with his boots and hat. I didn't even spare him a glance. He waited for me impatiently and, growing annoyed, strode over to sit before me, rapping his knuckles on the table. Bulmuti. I glanced at his slender, pale fingers before looking away. The teapot's right there. His expression darkened. I am the prince. I lifted my gaze and gave him a sidelong glance. I am the princess you married with a grand dowry procession, recorded in the imperial registry, not some servant girl you bought. He snorted angrily and poured himself a cup of cold tea, gulping it down. While he drank, I recounted Eunuch Charles's visit from last night in exact detail. His expression suddenly turned grave, his gaze scrutinizing me. I met his eyes unflinchingly. Liam Lee, as long as I am princess for a day, I will uphold my duties and support you. For as long as we are husband and wife, your honor is mine, and your disgrace is mine. I respect you, and you must respect me in return. Lastly, the money for bribes and the deed to buy my freedom, those came from my dowry. You owe me repayment. He couldn't help himself. Clenching his fist, pressing it against his forehead, he burst into laughter. I am, after all, the crown prince of a nation. Do you really think I'd go back on my word to a mere girl? I sighed in relief. He didn't reprimand me for acting on my own, nor did he blame me for meddling in state affairs. That meant he approved of my actions. This move of mine had been the right one. Setting down the brush, I looked at him, my eyes curving into crescents as I smiled. He met my gaze with a smile, his lashes fluttering briefly before he quickly looked away. Before setting off, Liam Lee soaked in a cold water barrel for the time it took 2 incense sticks to burn. When he emerged, his hands were icy, but his face was burning hot, flushed and unnatural red. He sneezed several times, then said to me in agitation, "You're my princess now. From now on, you must keep an eye on me. Don't let me drink too much, and never allow me to make a drunken spectacle of myself. Alcohol leads to trouble. Eunuch Charles is just a powerless little eunuch, and you happen to stumble upon him in a moment of need. Pure luck. If it had been one of Father Emperor's favored eunuchs who came last night, I would undoubtedly face his reprimand today. At the very least, house arrest for some time. I shouldn't have drunk." Frowning with worry, I nodded and leaned closer, pressing my forehead against his. His eyes widened in shock. I said anxiously, "You're burning up." I urged the coachman to drive faster. Once we reach the palace, have the imperial physician examine you immediately. We can't risk any lasting illness. Liam Lee, are you feeling awful? Lean on my shoulder and rest. All right, by the time you wake, we'll be there. He furrowed his brows and avoided my touch. What are you doing, Chloe Jiang? I'm not a child. We agreed. Once your sister returns, you'll leave. The only one I love is Minhua. Have some self-respect. I firmly turned his face toward me, sternly guiding his head to rest on my shoulder before tucking the blanket tighter around him. You're my husband now, and I must ensure your safety. If you die, I'd have to mourn you as a widow. How could I ever leave the Eastern Palace to find my true love? Get some sleep now. When you wake up, we'll have arrived. When I was little and fell ill, my mother treated me just like this." He opened his mouth to speak, but sneezed again instead, listlessly burying his face in the crook of my neck, his eyelids heavy with drowsiness. He murmured to me in a haze, "Your mother, is she doing well?" I replied softly, "She's doing just fine. You should take care of yourself too. Liam Lee, you're now nominally the closest and most important person to me. You absolutely mustn't come to harm." Liam Lee's face flushed even redder instantly, his breath growing noticeably hotter. "Why you? Shut up." Suppressing a laugh, I feigned innocent concern for him. "All right then, are you still feeling unwell, Liam Lee?" He squeezed his eyes shut with effort. "Not anymore." I gasped theatrically, pretending ignorance. "Why is something poking me?" He instantly flew into a humiliated rage. "Silence. You." His earlobes flushed crimson, eyes glistening with moisture. The fever had left him utterly weakened. It must be said, he was blessed with striking features. When His Majesty saw Liam Lee staggering and needing my support, his stern expression visibly softened. I knelt with Liam Lee, touching our foreheads to the ground. Liam Lee collapsed unconscious, his forehead bleeding from the impact. The Emperor's displeasure vanished, replaced by alarm as he roared for the imperial physicians. The Empress exhaled in relief beside them. I knew then, This calculated display of suffering had struck true. Afterward, the Empress detained me privately, her gaze brimming with unconcealed delight. I always knew I hadn't misjudged you. She patted my hand. Consummate your union with Zhao soon. Bear His Majesty's first imperial grandson, and lifelong splendor shall be yours. Next month marks the third prince's grand marriage. You must not let them bear the imperial grandson before you. Her final words carried an unmistakable authority. I knelt on the ground in trepidation. Your servant dares not deceive Her Majesty. His Highness will not touch me. He married me only to have me hold the position of princess for my sister. Once my sister returns in the future, your servant will leave the Eastern Palace. The Empress slammed the table in fury. Preposterous. Utterly preposterous. What spell has that little wretch Luna Jiang cast on my Zhao? Speak, where has Luna Jiang gone? I kowtowed, pleading for calm, then hesitated anxiously. Your servant does not know. The Empress clenched her fists, staring coldly at me. Rise. If you won't tell me, this palace will uncover the truth itself. Now that Luna Jiang's whereabouts are unknown, you, a clever, sensible girl who knows what's proper, must seize Zhao's heart before she returns. Once Liam Li sets his heart on someone, no other woman will catch his eye. This palace will assist you. I blushed and thanked her for her grace. When the Empress discovers Luna Jiang eloped with someone, no matter how furious she is, she will suppress the scandal for Liam Li's reputation. But Luna Jiang will never set foot in the Eastern Palace as a bride. Not even as a concubine. The Empress would never allow it. I intend to seal off every possible path for Luna Jiang, forcing her to remain nothing but a harmless pawn, just as her mother once did to mine. Liam Li covered our bedchamber walls with portraits of Luna Jiang, a warning to me and to his own wavering heart. No matter how tightly I leash my emotions, in this moment, his cruelty humiliates me. For an instant, panic flickers in his eyes as he meets my expressionless gaze. I retrieve the tonic I brewed for him, setting it on the table. Drink it while it's warm. Your Highness, Chloe Jiang. He chases after me, but I'm already running. I wandered outside for a long time before meeting with Zhang Zhao in disguise. He asked me how much longer it would take. Soon, very soon. I can hardly restrain myself from killing Liam Li already. I didn't return until evening. Liam Li was waiting for me outside the door, his face deathly pale from his lingering cold. When he saw me, his lifeless expression shifted slightly. He grabbed my hand urgently and scolded me. How dare you? You. I shook off his hand and replied indifferently. Your Highness, ours is merely a partnership. My whereabouts are none of your concern. He let out a cold laugh, coughing uncontrollably. Fine, I couldn't care less about you. Whether you live or die means nothing to me. We locked eyes, neither yielding an inch. Exactly so. Liam Li and I moved into separate rooms, and once the news spread, it instantly swept through the circles of noble women in the capital. I became the latest laughingstock of the capital. My father berated me for being useless, saying I was no match for Luna Jiang. Lady Dowager's appetite improved greatly from joy. The Empress reprimanded Liam Li and even had aphrodisiacs slipped into our meals. Every possible method was employed, yet Liam Li and I still made no progress. Daily, I delivered medicinal meals and decoctions to Liam Li on schedule, but we otherwise did not meet. The Empress entrusted all internal affairs of the Eastern Palace to me. I dismissed several long-serving elderly servants and sent away maids and matrons who refused to obey my authority. They wept before Liam Li. Liam Li said coldly, all matters of the inner court fall under the princess's jurisdiction. Her word is law. Do not defy it. Those who disobey shall be beaten to death immediately. From then on, I held real power, and my position grew more secure. But it still wasn't enough. Soon, a new opportunity arose. At the start of the new year, it was time for foreign envoys to pay tribute. The envoy from Liang arrived with their prince, a once-in-a-century master of the zither. He came here seeking a musical duel. Several court musicians had already fallen to Prince Liang's prowess, darkening the emperor's expression and tightening Liam Li's lips. Prince Liang shook his head with disdain. So, this is all the mighty Yong Empire has to offer. Liam Li clenched his fists. I grasped his hand, feeling his body stiffen. When he turned to me, his gaze involuntarily softened. What is it? Instead of answering, I rose and addressed the emperor. Father, your daughter-in-law wishes to attempt this challenge. Liam Li's face darkened as his brothers, ever eager to undermine his princely status, watched with mocking eyes. But when my fingers plucked the first note from the strings, the entire hall fell silent. Even Prince Liang's smile vanished, his expression turning grave. As the final note faded, the room remained hushed. I rose and curtsied to the dazed Prince Liang. Your Highness, it's your turn now. He shook his head, flashing me a radiant smile. No need. To hear your music is already the fortune of 3 lifetimes. You've shown me that there are always greater mountains beyond mountains, and greater masters beyond masters. But you, so young, why does your music sound so sorrowful? Are you unhappy? He looked at me with innocent, clear eyes. I smiled from the heart. He was the first to truly understand my music, and the first musician who ever moved me. I couldn't help but feel a fondness for him. That your Highness understands my music is the happiest thing to happen to me in recent days. Clapping his hands, he asked His Majesty if he could become my disciple and study the qin with me. Liam Li's face darkened like the bottom of a pot, hiding the laughter in my eyes. I refused. I am already a married woman. It would be improper. He sighed in disappointment. I came too late. Liam Li's briefly brightened expression instantly darkened again. Returning to Liam Li's side, he asked me in a low voice, "Why have I never heard of your exceptional skill with the qin?" I spread my palms open for him to see. On our wedding day, when you led me out of the bridal sedan, you said my rough, unappealing hands couldn't compare to my sister's soft and delicate ones. But Liam Li, these calluses and blisters are the marks of my hard work. You said you only wanted the one and only bright moon, while I was just a cicada common in summer. I am no different from the ornamental rocks in your courtyard. I am just a stone without thoughts or will of my own, destined to be manipulated my whole life. These are all your words. You've always looked down on me, despised me, and never truly understood me. He opened his mouth to explain, but found no words. I raised my reddened eyes and smiled at him. I lied to you. Liam Li, the one in my heart was you. I've loved you for many years. He stood thunderstruck as I spoke each word deliberately. But now, I no longer wish to love you. Divorce me. Liam Li refused to annul the marriage. At this critical juncture, if he were to divorce his wife, how could his brothers pass up such a golden opportunity to impeach him? He tried to pressure me with family obligations. I replied indifferently, Liam Li, my mother is dead. Luna Zhang's mother threatened my mother with my life. My mother drank the medicine given by the Lady Dowager and died when I was 6. Do you think I was registered under the Lady Dowager's name by chance? He was speechless for a long moment before finally saying, Your father always doted on you. You grew up in the Prime Minister's estate. They took pains to nurture you. Shouldn't you repay their kindness? I sneered. Liam Li, send someone to ask. Ask how I've survived all these years under your beloved's mercy. In the Prime Minister's estate, I fought with dogs for scraps. Luna, Jiang beat and cursed me at will. I couldn't even eat my fill. Do you know that if I weren't so tough, Luna Jiang would have beaten me to death long ago? He retorted, Impossible. Luna is kind-hearted. She wouldn't even step on an ant. How could she treat you poorly? She always told me you were her most beloved sister in front of me. How could you slander her like this? If she wanted to harm you, why would she give you the chance to learn such exquisite musical skills? I said disappointedly, because I was her stand-in. Whenever she needed to perform, she would use a screen to block the view and replace her with me. Because my father needed this daughter of his to pave the way for his son. I never expected you to believe me. But Liam Li, could you just investigate it? Just once, please? As soon as I finished speaking, an arrow shot through the broken window. With quick reflexes, I pushed Liam Li aside and took the hit. The arrow struck straight through my heart and lungs. Zhang Zhao's arrow, truly accurate. Overnight, Liam Li had aged considerably. his chin covered in stubble. I lay in the bridal chamber of our grand marriage. His eyes were red-rimmed as he clutched my hand, refusing to let go. Seeing me awake, he pursed his lips and spoke with difficulty. "I'm sorry." I knew then that he had investigated. Not only that, what he uncovered was far worse and more horrifying than what I had described. Such a ruler, praised by all as benevolent and virtuous. How could he accept that the woman he had adored for years was a monster who tortured servants and tormented her own sisters? The idol in his heart had crumbled. He was on the verge of breaking down, but I gave him no time to recover. Zhang Zhao dumped Luna Jiang, her hands severed, outside the Eastern Palace gates. This time, Liam Li did not take the unconscious Luna Jiang in. He didn't even inquire about her injuries. Instead, he ordered her sent back to the Prime Minister's estate. When Luna Jiang awoke, she raged like a madwoman, screaming and wailing. Upon learning I had married Liam Li, her curses against me grew even more frenzied. The Lady Dowager summoned countless renowned physicians to treat Luna Jiang. When they suggested transplanting hands from a woman of similar stature by reconnecting tendons and nerves, she scoured the entire capital for a suitable candidate. The Metropolitan Governor reported this to Liam Li, who was furious beyond measure, treating human life as worthless. "This is utterly absurd," Luna Jiang asked him through tears. "Have you changed your heart? Have you fallen for her? Do you no longer care if I live or die?" Liam Li stared at her coldly. "Was it truly you whom I loved? Luna Jiang, you deceived me cruelly. I wish I could tear you limb from limb." Liam Li personally brewed my medicine every day. The arrow wound was just below my chest, requiring daily dressing changes. I clutched my collar tightly, glaring at Liam Li in fury. "There are maids. Why must it be you?" he declared righteously. "I am your husband," I snorted. "Luna Jiang has already returned." I pointed at the royal seal on the side table. "It's time for me to leave." He effortlessly pushed my hand aside, removed my robe, and changed my bandages. "Where will you go?" "To find your beloved." "But isn't your beloved right here before you?" He grinned at me shamelessly. "I'm right here, my lady." He tilted my chin and kissed my lips. "Don't go, all right?" Tears streamed down my face. In warfare, the supreme art is to subdue the enemy without fighting. So this is how difficult it is. To think it would cost a life to gamble. The day I discovered my pregnancy, Liam Li was overjoyed. Luna Jiang raged madly at home. My maternal uncle, rarely seen, came to my door demanding an audience. "Now that my niece is the princess, why won't you help your uncles? You're nothing like your mother." I sat on a priceless scholar's chair, sipping priceless tea. I casually said to the guards, "They disturbed the princess's pregnancy. Execute them." By the time Liam Li arrived, they were barely clinging to life. They begged Liam Li for mercy. Liam Li only said angrily, "Drag them out and beat them. Don't dirty the princess's sight." I looked at him and smiled. "Your Highness doesn't blame me for treating lives as grass." Liam Li supported my waist as I sat down. "These two, back then, sold your mother to repay gambling debts, indirectly causing her death. Later, they sold their wives, and then their daughters. They had already been reduced to begging outside the capital. It was Luna Jiang's mother who brought them back to the capital." I lowered my head, blinked, and held back my tears. "Liam Li, one day, I will kill the Lady Dowager." He cupped my face, gently wiping away my tears, soothing me. "Then, let me be your blade, your support. All right, then, could you die for me, Liam Li? Truthfully, I really despise you. I gave birth to the little imperial heir before the third prince." The emperor was very pleased, though whether he's pleased or not hardly matters anymore. In his middle age, he dotes increasingly on the third prince, born of the noble consort. The empress has reached her limit of endurance. Eunuch Charles, who had once received my kindness, was promoted by the empress and rose swiftly before the throne, eventually becoming the emperor's personal chief eunuch. Every day, he would send someone to inform me of the emperor's health condition, urging me to prepare for what was to come. After the emperor's sudden demise, with Eunuch Charles as an inside ally, Liam Li smoothly ascended the throne. The empress acted swiftly, immediately executing the imperial consort. When she prepared to kill the third prince, Liam Li intervened. The mother and son had a fierce argument. The empress angrily declared, "Such womanly softness, letting the tiger return to the mountains, will only invite disaster sooner or later." But Liam Li stubbornly insisted, disregarding the opposition of his ministers, and spared the third prince's life, sending him to his fiefdom. Liam Li was in a foul mood when he confided in me about this, and I shared the empress's view, yet I could only console him. He buried his face in the crook of my neck, like a forsaken young beast. "Annie, thank goodness for you. Thank goodness you understand me." In truth, I didn't understand him at all. If I were emperor, the first person I'd kill would be anyone threatening my throne. I wouldn't be as foolish as him. Sure enough, within 3 months, the third prince allied with his old faction to rebel. The army marched northward, leaving countless casualties in the counties they passed. The people's grievances grew loud. Liam Li's hair turned white from worry. He was suited for governance, not war. The battle was hard won. Several generals fell in court, and countless soldiers lost their lives. The ministers petitioned for Liam Li to issue an edict of self-reproach. Under immense pressure, Liam Li fell gravely ill. It was I who reviewed the memorials in his stead. It was I who placated the ministers for him. It was I who issued the edict of self-reproach before the people and officials on his behalf. I had our child keep him company while I stabilized the court for him. Gradually, he realized the court could function without him. Slowly, without notice, I cultivated many loyal followers. My ambition grew greater with each passing day. So, this is the taste of power, turning clouds with one hand, summoning rain with the other. Even my father had to kneel before me. Zhang Zhao beat the grievance drum, seeking justice for his deceased fiancée Daisy, and accusing Luna Jiang of murder. Daisy was not a born servant of the Prime Minister's estate, nor was she a maidservant bound by a life contract. Luna Jiang had no right to kill her. My father's face turned ashen in court, nearly dropping his official tablet. Sheer nonsense. Liam Li cares nothing for governance. Now, I oversee the kingdom's affairs. My father, brimming with confidence, was certain I would punish Zhang Zhao. "Your Majesty, this man slanders my daughter with baseless accusations. He deserves death 10,000 times over," I replied with a faint smile. Oh, yet I recall it happening quite clearly. When Luna Jiang severed Daisy's hands, I believe I was right there, watching with my own eyes. Does the Prime Minister suggest I would lie? Given our high status and authority, we must strictly adhere to propriety and law. We must never shield our own family members, lest we disillusion the common people. My father's lips trembled as he looked up at me in disbelief. At that moment, he finally understood. I was never a pawn in his hands. My obedience had all been an act. Sending me into the Eastern Palace was the worst mistake of his life. I would not become the stepping stone for the Jiang family's male descendants to enter the court. I was the Jiang family's death warrant, but this was all their own doing. The battle against the third prince had dealt too heavy a blow to Liam Li. Night after night, he was plagued by nightmares, growing increasingly dependent on me, unable to bear my absence. Every day before I left, he would grasp my hand, pleading like a kitten. "Annie, don't go. Please don't go. Hold me again. Just hold me." He would cry and shed tears, begging for my love. His mother, the Empress, fell gravely ill because of him, and the ministers who once supported him all abandoned him. He was trapped in this deep palace, imprisoned by the failure beneath his benevolence. Only I and our child remain by his side. All he can hold on to now is my hand. Yet, I merely pried his fingers open one by one and pushed him away. Then, with a hollow smile, I spoke to him gently. "Liam Li, I'm going to kill someone. You'll have dinner ready for William and me when I return, won't you?" He nodded, pleading with me anxiously. "Annie, come back early. I'll be waiting for you." I touched his face with some delight. "Liam Li, I suddenly don't want you to die anymore. Will you stay with me? I'm so bored all alone." He nodded obediently. "Of course, Annie, I'll stay with you. I'll always stay with you." I ordered the medicinal powder for Liam Li to be discontinued. If he keeps using it, he'll turn into a fool, and that would be far too dull. It's been a long time since I last visited the Jiang family. I wrapped my mother's memorial tablet and had it placed in the imperial temple. The Lady Dowager did not rise to greet me when she saw me, nor did she bow in courtesy. She was exactly the same as she had always been. Her gaze was full of disdain, not bothering to conceal her disgust. "Speak. What exactly do you want?" I fiddled with the lid of my teacup and chuckled softly. It was Luna Jiang who severed Daisy's hands, but it was you who forbade anyone to treat her, leaving her to die of fever. How did you strike your bargain with my mother back then? You used my life and future to force her to take her own life. You are a woman of your word, and so am I. If you die, Luna Jiang will live. If you refuse to die, then Luna Jiang will have to. Luna Jiang, held down by the guards beside her, burst into panicked tears. After having 2 of her teeth knocked out, she no longer dared to curse at me. She stared at her mother in terror, tears streaming down her face. "Mother, save me. Please save me. I don't want to die." The Lady Dowager glared at me, her smile dripping with venom. "She's just a crippled daughter. If Her Majesty the Empress wants her dead, so be it. It's not like she's my only child. Her existence brings me nothing but mockery and shame." Unconsciously, her gaze toward Luna Jiang had filled with hatred. If not for her foolishness, repeatedly committing such outrageous acts, I wouldn't have lost her father's favor. You wouldn't have married the prince and become empress. She ruined my entire life. Kill her. Consider it repayment for the years I spent raising you. Lady Dowager rose, clutching her prayer beads, and walked out. Luna Jiang collapsed to the floor, clutching at her hem, tears and snot streaming down her face. "Mother, you can't abandon me." Even her low-born concubine mother was willing to die for her. "Mother, save me, save me. I'll obey you in everything from now on." Lady Dowager kicked her squarely in the chest, sending Luna Jiang sprawling as she vomited blood. A hopeless waste of flesh. Unable to bear it any longer, she grabbed Luna Jiang's shoulders and snarled, "How could you be my daughter? How could I have given birth to someone like you?" She walked away without looking back, ignoring Luna Jiang's cries, and never turned around. I finished my schemer, sighed, and looked at Luna Jiang innocently. "Your mother won't die for you. You'll have to die by yourself." She was gagged and taken to the royal dungeon. Before leaving, my father stopped me. "If you want revenge for your mother, you can kill both of them. But don't forget, you bear the Jiang name. My blood runs in your veins. Without the Jiang family, do you think your position as empress will last?" I slapped him across the face. "Luna Jiang deserves to die, and so does Lady Dowager. But the one who truly deserves death most is you, the mastermind behind it all. Isn't that right? Then watch and see if I can hold this throne without the Jiang family." Disbelief twisted his face before he fainted, his lips trembling uncontrollably. "Ungrateful wretch, how dare you strike me?" With that, his eyes rolled back, and he fainted. Not long after returning to the palace, Zhang Zhao came to see me. He severed Lady Dowager's hands and abandoned her in a derelict temple to fend for herself. As promised, I conferred the title of Lady of the County upon Daisy, a hollow, posthumous honor, meaningless to me. Zhang Zhao held Daisy's memorial tablet and completed the wedding ceremony. How fitting. His betrothed was no longer a lowly maid subjected to humiliation. He had once vowed to her that he would earn her honor and free her from servitude. He kept his promise. A pity it came too late. I rarely drank wine, and Liam Lee was uncharacteristically sober. We sat in the pavilion, gazing at the hazy moonlight. I envied Daisy, but it didn't matter. I had my mother, and she treated me well. Liam Lee wiped away my tears. "Don't envy her, Annie. I'm right here, and I'll always treat you well." I shook my head, tears streaming down like rain. "It's different. It's not the same." Zhang Zhao loves Daisy, loves everything about her. He never humiliated or mocked her. "But Liam Lee, you always looked down on me." He frantically tried to explain. "That was in the past. Annie, we still have a future. Back then, I didn't understand you or love you, but now I do. Why can't we live well together? We still have William. Recently, I stopped taking the medicinal powder. and the nightmares have ceased. In the night, shadows flickered. When the assassin swung his sword, Liam Lee grasped the blade with both hands, blood gushing out. Annie, run! I stared blankly at this absurd and ridiculous scene, until Liam Lee died before my eyes. Zane Zhao saved me. Hugging my knees, I stared unblinking at Liam Lee's gruesome corpse, muttering to myself, how strange that such a timid man would die for me. Zane Zhao sheathed his sword. He was tender-hearted, not timid. Your Majesty, the wind is rising. Yes, the wind is rising. The husband who once draped my cloak over my shoulders is dead, nor will anyone wait for my return to share a meal anymore. The assassin was sent by my father to kill me. With me dead, he could place my child on the throne and rule as regent. I ended him with a cup of poisoned wine, a death too merciful. From then on, the Jiang family's leadership passed to the second branch. Soon after, the annual tribute from foreign envoys arrived once more. The Prince of Liang remained as naive and guileless as ever. He plucked the strings of his zither. For 2 years I practiced day and night. Today, I can finally play for your Majesty. I couldn't help but smile. Life, it seemed, wasn't so unbearable after all.